our live session to our new released Azure Virtual Desktop Manager powered by XOAP. Today again with our CTO, Sinisha. Welcome in this session once
Hello
again.
again.
Hope you're doing good today.
Thank you.
Yeah, while we are here, we will go through our newest release of AVD Manager. Sinisha will show us what is the AVD Manager, how we can start with it, and what kind of added values, features, and configurations you will find in the UI. So before we start, Sinisha, to you, why we have developed the AVD Manager, what is the AVD Manager, what is the scope to manage, and yeah, just to start a bit in the topic.
Yeah, what is the AVD Manager? Actually, everybody who knows XOAP, we previously had a large focus on automating infrastructures. And this is something that, from my perspective, if you look at AVD, is like the smallest part of what needs to be done if you want to run an Azure Virtual Desktop environment. And we now started, like, on top of our automation capabilities, to also implement operational integrations. And the first one that we see here is the AVD Manager, for sure, because from our perspective, what we see at customer side is that day two operations and everything around AVD, what is needed to get it up and running day by day, complemented with the capabilities that we already have in place, is a huge step forward for customers in these environments. And yeah, looking forward to show you the features that we implemented and looking forward to any feedback.
Very nice. But before we start with the AVD Manager, XOAP is not only AVD Manager. We are not only focusing on the Microsoft Azure Virtual Desktop, just to give a small hint that we can also support in the image management process different platforms like AWS, like Nutanix, VMware, Xen Server, and the features are growing and growing day by day pretty fast. So is there something from your side to highlight also here?
I mean, yeah, what we added a while ago back was on-premises environment support with the combination of our XOAP connector, which runs locally in an environment and enables image management through our platform, besides cloud platforms that we're already supporting also in the on-premises environments. And we can say for sure Nutanix, vSphere, and Xen Server are currently the supported ones, but we will also extend that in the near future to Hyper-V, for example, Proxmox. And we are also looking at the capability of running Pixie Boot in local environments as well.
A lot of nice things coming up next. Pretty cool. But now we are here to see how it works. Sinisha will give us a step-by-step overview and guide us through the console. If there's any question, I will be there in the chat and take over the question to Sinisha, and we will answer it during the session. So feel free to chat and write everything down. What's in your mind? And now, Sinisha, it's your turn. Enjoy, have fun, and if you need me, just let me know.
All right, thank you. So where do we start? I mean, I'm already in one of the so-called workspaces. This is a dedicated environment that you can spin up for a customer or your own environment. You can have multiple of those workspaces in your subscription, but before you can access it, you have to go to xoap.io and register for your free workspace. This will enable you to also play around with the AVD Manager, which you see here on the screen. And this is actually the first screen you will see when you spin up your free trial. And it's meant to help you with a simple 3-step process to get you started. So if you have an Azure Virtual Desktop environment already running in your environment, we will, after those 3 steps, get all the information out of it and show it on the screen. If you haven't any AVD environment, I will also show you a way of using a quick start to get an environment you can play with and understand how the technology works. But the first step here is, and we're describing everything you need, so we need some sort of connection to your subscription where you want to spin up or manage your Azure Virtual Desktop environment. And you can download here a script that you run inside your environment where we get then the information. And you can also have a look at the script. So there's no rocket science. We're checking for the Azure CLI and then setting the scope and the permissions. And in the end, we give you like this information here that you need inside of XOAP to create a connection to your environment to help you as good as we can. So those 4 values here, you need them in the second step where you create a service principal connection into your environment. And the last step is then very simple. When the connection is there, you can run the checks. It gives you like a green check mark if everything is set up correctly, and then you can start building your environment or managing your environment. I'm not going through the process now. Now I'll switch to another workspace which already has a few resources deployed, and this takes a little bit of time. So here, now we gather all the information that is running inside the connection that is specified here to an Azure environment. First of all, you can have a look at how many running hosts you have, active sessions, the fleet utilization, the current cost, and what the estimated always-on cost would be based on some sort of cost optimizations that we are running or that you can configure with our manager. But if you don't have any environment that you can play with, then we have here a few wizards for you that you can use. So either you use our quick start wizard, which just lets you spin up in a very simple way. You configure like a region you want to deploy. I'm going to use West Europe here. You can define if it's a pool to personal desktop. Then we give you some dynamic names here that you can just use or change however you like. Then you go to the next step, select a VM size that you want to choose from your subscription, then the number of hosts. To give you an information about the free workspace, you have a limit of 5 session hosts that you can manage here. So you're free to add 5 however you like it. And you can also choose from the Azure Marketplace images, the latest supported for AVD here, or you can, if you're using also our image management, but in an empty workspace, you won't have any image available to choose that. That's something that I prepared here for this use case. But you can use those or your custom images that you created also with the image management from XOAP. Feel free to add a Azure Bastion host, or hard word. And you can enable AVD insights. This is important fact for us. So we are using a lot of AVD insights to show information on the screen. So this is one important thing. That's why it's enabled here by default. I have to select an VM type. I'll just use one small thing here. This field is required. Okay, let's take this one, then go next. You get like a short summary, and then you just hit quick start, and after 10 to 15 minutes, you will have an environment that you can play with. I use this wizard to spin up 4 environments here. So whenever you are using the quick start, that's a feature that we implemented here as well, because maybe you just want to try out how it works before you then do like an enterprise deployment or spin up the environment on your own. You can also like separately delete all of those host pools and deployments that you created so that you have an easy way of checking how our AVD Manager actually works. And besides that, I totally forgot. So we also have an enterprise deployment capability, or you're clicking on setup manually, then you are redirected here. And we are also offering to whatever you want to do here. You can create a resource group, things that are needed to spin up a complete Azure Virtual Desktop environment. So you have everything in place here if it's not already running. All right, and questions so far? I learned that I have to do much more pauses in between.
No, for now, give me a second. I will check again on YouTube channel and on LinkedIn. Actually, there's no question. You can move
All right,
forward.
then I will just move forward.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's first of all have a quick run through those tabs here on the top. So overview is giving you like a starting point. Host pools is giving you information for the specific host pools that you created. So you have like a trend here for the host pools. You can also see the host pools here in a table view, and you can also configure things here like settings and look into the details. You can also have like an overview of the fleet map you have with all the VMs that are running here. Then we have session hosts, similar thing. So you see, first of all, an overview of the hosts by status, what is happening in your environment. And then you also have like the overview of the specific session hosts that you have. Then sessions, this is very small data set because it's just my demo user here that connected, but you here have an overview of the users per day. Also, you can have a look at the logon times and the users that are here connected, and you can also manage like those users here from this specific part. Then we have scaling plans, a very important part. So here with scaling plans, you define when a specific amount of session hosts should be available in your infrastructure, when to ramp up, when to ramp down. Also, you can define additional vacation days or public holidays where hosts shouldn't be running, but I'm going into the details a little bit later. Then we have the automation part, which is reacting to hooks that are happening inside the infrastructure. And based on a hook, this is happening, you can define scripts that then run and do a specific thing based on our platform management scripted actions. This gives you the possibility or the opportunity to further extend the automation capabilities that we have here in either AVD Manager or the platform to more specific things like updating a CMDB or something similar if we don't have the functionality here that's needed. Then we have a workspace overview. I mean, that's also for people who know how AVD works. You define workspaces, assign applications and application groups to them. This is also what you can define here, as well as manage storage accounts here with specific shares, packages, and user profiles. Then we have a main reports area where you have different types of reports you can have a look at, and we have access and users, where you have access to Entra ID devices as well. So you can manage the devices that are registered in Entra ID as well. And you can also see that we have different type of user roles here, which have like a different kind of focus, like operations, administrations, and infrastructure, depending on what kind of role you have in your environment. And that's for a very quick overview about what you can see here.
Go further.
Okay.
I will interrupt you, but I can check again, but there's nothing I can highlight.
All right, good. Then let's dive a little bit into the host pools and the host pool details. So I'll just take this one here. And if I go into the details of a host pool, again, I have different kind of areas that I can configure here. First of all, I can see which of my session hosts are currently available, how many sessions are there. I mean, this is a personal host pool, so there's only one session. You can get a little bit of information about the session host that is running. You can see the disk tier here. So this one is running and it's tiered to premium SSD, while the other ones that are deallocated are running as or converted to standard HDD. Then we can have a look a little bit into the details of the session host. So you get information about the health check, about some of the information we get from Azure, private IPs, NIC, MAC addresses, in which network is this VM running, as well as looking at what sessions are connected to this host. If this would be a pooled desktop with remote apps, you would see here the applications as well. You can also dive into the configuration of the session host and how agent updates are actually configured. In this case, this is disabled on host pool, so you have to configure this in the settings of the host pool, and then you can drain the session hosts, restart them, deallocate them, delete them. So you have all the option to manage your session hosts that are running. The second area we have here is sessions. This is also not a rocket science. So actually you see which sessions connected to this host pool and the specific machines. Again, you see what are the users. You can also see like the logon time and the average logon time. In this case, this machine is a B2MS, so not the fastest one, and it was offline. So there's a setting where you can define that the machine is starting up when a user connects. This took like a certain amount of time here, but over time you should also see your different kind of logon times for your users and the specified host pool. And then we have auto scaling, which is one of the most important areas here for a host pool, because here is where you can first of all see over time when did users log in, when was like the highest amount of logins over time, because this should help you defining the ramp up, ramp down, peak times, and the off peak times for your session hosts that are configured with the scaling plan. And this basically very simple to administrate. So I go to edit and I can define the active dates or active days where this scaling plan should run. And then I can simply go here and define, okay, maybe 5 o'clock, depends a little bit on when you're starting to work. You can just go through those settings here and define how the peak, ramp down, ramp up should look like. You can also define here specifically for personal host pools what should happen with desktop when ramp up begins. So should all desktops in the pool be started, only desktops with assigned users, or should they only start when the user connects? So this one here is selected. And in addition to that, you can also configure what happens during the time frame. So for example, somebody logged in during ramp up time, and you want to configure what happens if a user disconnects or logs off. So here you have additional capabilities of defining that if a user disconnects, you deallocate the host after maybe 15 minutes or simply don't do anything. And this is something that you can define per ramp up phase. And in addition to that, you can configure also, for example, to shut down the session hosts at the weekend. Or if you add in, for example, your country code here, and I did that for Germany, you automatically get holiday overrides for the public holidays. So at this times, the host pool would also be deallocated as configured to save additional amount of money that you spend on this pool. Based on the scaling plan, you also see when will a certain amount of VMs be running. So for example, during this ramp up time, 5 will be running, during peak also 5, and then everything will be like reduced to 0 here. But you can configure that however you like. You can also like define a reserve of a certain amount of hosts, for example, 20% that should always be available. So there are a lot of options you can configure here, as well as in addition to that, also metric-driven triggers, which is more related to pool session hosts, where you, for example, based on the CPU usage or the available memory, you can also spin up additional hosts when needed. Questions to that?
Sorry, I have to switch in the application every time.
Okay.
Let me check again. No, there is no question for now.
All right, then I will proceed.
Yeah, I know why you are asking. The German session this morning, there are much more questions.
Yeah, there were a lot of questions around this, and that's why I thought, okay, let's make a pause. But that's good. All right.
I would like to ask the question instead of the attendees, but you answered it already, so I can't place the same question from this morning, so everything is fine.
Yeah, we are learning, right? Good. Second most important thing, I would say, for the management of Azure Virtual Desktops is the image management. So we have the capability of setting a current default folder for an image, which we are actually doing by either going to the marketplace, selecting here one of the available images, or having our own images available that we created with image management, either as a gallery or a managed image. And when we do that and select here an image, you can set this as a pool default, for example. So this takes a little bit of time. And now you can see that this was added here as current default, and the previous image that was assigned is the previous image. So often something breaks when we roll out a new image. Maybe there is a new software component on it, a new FSLogix version is there, which creates issues and problems. In these cases, you can do a rollback to the previous image version very easily. And you have multiple ways of deploying the new image to the session host. So either you can do it directly here when you changed it. You can click on this roll out to 5 hosts, and then you can define a batch size. So how many hosts at once will be drained and then re-imaged and rebooted. But in addition to that, you can also configure resizing of those hosts during the rollout. So maybe in your first attempt, the VM sizes were too small or too big, you want to change it, but you don't want to change it multiple times. So you can just define here from the list, again, another instance type that you set. And then when you start the rollout, the image will be rolled over and the instance type will be changed as well in batches that you configure. And if you don't want to do that manually, you can also set up automatic image updates with a simple to use stepper here, which is defined like the time, weekdays, every day, during weekends. Click on next, define the batches, and then this should be it. And now we have a maintenance set that will look at the times and then do the job for you as new image, either new image is there. You will also be notified if a new image is here so that you can react to that, but we can also define like an automatic update progress, a process that just starts when the maintenance starts. And I think this is helping people a lot in combination with the image management. So you can schedule new image creations, for example, like every 4 weeks when Windows updates are available, or you just want to have every week a new image that you can define and then do like blue-green deployment. So you exchange the whole image for the customers because you're patching things. There are a lot of options because you can also add different kind of custom schedules here to create those images, and this gives you an operational advantage here that you don't have to take care about those things as well manually. Maybe during the day, just use the maintenance here. Again, waiting.
I'm just jumping in.
Okay.
What would you say from this image management perspective? Why it's so important that we do not have a look only on the AVD Manager as well as on the image management in this scenario?
So there are different kind of operational models customers have. So we have, for example, people who are using personal host pools, and they are managed like old school physical devices over time or a very, very long time. And then we have like those pool session hosts that you can just roll over because you're doing upgrades and updates to them. In the combination, and this is something that I can maybe show later when we have some time, we are progressing very quickly in those 45 minutes. You always have the capability of, when you spin up session hosts, to also integrate them into our configuration management, for example, and assign desired state configurations to configure operating system and also the state of the compliance. So this includes sys benchmarking topics, additional Office, FSLogix settings, whatever you can think of. Also services and registry optimizations. And on top with that, we can also provide application management. So you can install the applications either. If you define a role here for a host pool, we can assign the applications and install them into the base image here with image management. Or when we manage them like in a traditional way, we can also deploy the applications here via configuration management and then have like an ongoing operational update process for all of those things. That's, I think, one of the most important parts here. It's not only the AVD Manager managing like this small piece of this environment, but also with the combinations of everything that we have in place here. This is a very powerful solution that you can use to manage actually everything in your environment with this.
I agree. Okay, thank you.
All right, maintenance, we already had it. So you can define maintenance types. You can also define what to do with FS logics during maintenance. So you can also define to roll back to a specific version or update to a latest version. And to have a look at FS logics in a little bit more detail. So here we already have configured FS logics profile container setting for this host pool. But to show you how this looks like, so you can have enable FS logics on the pool, and then with our managed capabilities of also managing the storage and the shares and everything around it, you can define the profile share with the location and the share where you want to put in your profiles. You can also configure like the container size. Also how we deal with profiles when they are created. And in addition to that, so you can either define to update it to the latest version during maintenance, but you can also define here to always use like the latest version or pin it to a specific version or add a custom version here. So you have full control over your FS logics environment and how you manage it. And you can, to make it complete, Office containers can also be configured here with a separate share. You can include the components here. And last but not least, also enable automatic resizing of FS logics profile shares when needed. In addition to our capabilities, we also have on the storage side to also scale up and scale down the used storage that I will just show in a minute or two. Depends on how far we get. And then you also will see which you can also attach app attach packages here. So we also have the capabilities to directly upload through our front-end app attach packages that you can then manage and assign to specific hosts, as well as you can also publish remote apps, which is actually very simple by providing the paths to the executables, which have to be available on the session hosts where you want to define that. But those are the capabilities that you can see here then as well for specific host. Automation I already talked about. So automation hooks that you have here can be assigned to specific host pools here as well. This is currently like, because we are here in a preview, this is not completely integrated yet. That's why we have some sort of demo data here, but we are working on it to get this up and running as soon as possible. So you can add automations and assign them to different kind of host pools, whatever you need to do to extend the automation of the platform. And in addition to that, we also give you the capability to deploy our own XOAP connector agent to the session hosts. This is done with an API key and then can be installed on all the hosts, which gives you additional capabilities like running queries against the session hosts, doing, in addition to here, desired state configuration, where you actually define a state that you want to achieve. And this is then automatically checked and validated. And if something goes wrong, it will be reverted to the state that you defined. But with the connector, we give you additional capabilities of manually pushing certain kind of configurations, commands, scripts, files, and applications against the session hosts. So this is like more the, again, a step back, if you can say it, to the traditional way of managing hosts, which gives you more power over how to manage those things. And this is not only related to AVD, so we can install the XOAP connector on currently Windows and Linux devices, and it doesn't matter where they are running. So could be domain environment, can be somewhere in the world where you just need access to one specific device. So you get this on top. And What we are also thinking about as a next step in the evolution of the AVD Manager is to integrate WebRTC into it to give you also the chance of remote connecting to clients or session nodes here as well. So a lot of things coming up here as well. We already have many things in the backlog here for the AVD Manager. Questions?
I'm checking. No questions.
All right, then I'll continue. Thank you. Then we have an activity log where you can see what happened inside your environment. So we have this per pool as well as a global here for everything that's happening. And then let's go to the settings of the host pool. I'm not going into the details of configuring RDP properties and things like that. I'm pretty sure you all know how that works and what you can configure there. But I want to give you a heads up to some specifics that we added here. So first of all, I already said like we have disk tiering in place for running and deallocated hosts. This is configured here in this tiering, so you can enable or disable it however you like, and you can define also like a little bit of what happens to the HDD. You can define standard SSD as an option, but default is standard HDD when deallocated, and the same for when the session hosts are running. So we're setting it to premium SSD, but you can also change it to a standard SSD if you like. And then we have two additional things that are also very nice from my point of view, especially for the cost budgeting and estimation part. You can define per host pool a cost budget. And if you define that cost budget, we will track the usage. And when you hit the cost budget, you can define that the hosts are deallocated. So for, I don't know, you have maybe some demos, external contractors who need to do something. You want to just be sure that your dev environment doesn't produce too much costs or whatever you can think of. That was actually a customer request where we also did the demo like 2 weeks ago. I said like, it would be nice if you can just deallocate the things, because before it was just like sending a message out, and then we added like this button here. So when the cost budget is hit, then the session hosts running in it can be deallocated. I think that's very cool. And besides other topics, we also have the capability of spinning up non-persistent hosts. So we are using ephemeral OS disks. You can spin up hosts with this disk type, and you can define what happens when a user logs off. So for a user logs off, we are shutting the instance down, reverting it to the state it was before. The next time you log in, you get the same machine. So maybe packaging guys can use this to package something, because you always want to have a clean state, or you want to do some development tests, application tests, or whatever. For this use case, I think this is a very cool feature, which you can use to further enhance the usage scenarios of your Azure Virtual Desktop environment deployment. Yeah, that's, I guess, it for the first overview of, actually what you can figure on a host pool here. And I'm again pausing for a minute.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting, especially the budget topic, because the question was also in the session before. Yeah, maybe I can pick this up because I think that's pretty interesting. Do I need an agent in the Azure environment, or what I need to do to spin up the environment to do this kind of stuff like budget management and so on in the Azure subscription of a customer?
Yeah, that's a good question. We are not deploying anything in the customer environment. So we are using the service principal with the specific rights that you give us. So you control everything that we get. If you decide like you don't want to give us the user rights to create storage accounts, then just remove it, give it read access, whatever, then it's fine. So you can at least have a look at it, because we also have customers who are having very different types of teams that are managing the Azure environment, and not always it's like the AVD team taking care of everything around it, but you can still add read rights to at least get some sort of information if you don't want to give change rights to this. But the only thing you configure is a connection into your environment with the specified service principal, which I showed in the very beginning that you create when you first time open up the AVD Manager here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
All right. Then, I mean, session hosts, I talked a lot about session hosts, so maybe don't go into too much details, but I already showed that a little bit. So you get a health checks, you get the information that you need and the options that are also like needed to manage the hosts during operations. Same for session hosts. So you can go to the user. You can also go into the details of this user, and you will see like connection details, recent connections. If there's an FSLogix profile, I didn't log off yet, so I don't think there's anything that I can do here with my user. There's no container here found currently. You can also look at the phases of the logins to get a little bit of more information. So you can see that because this is like a deallocated session host we had before, and it was like not running. You can see that 1.5 minutes actually were needed to start this session host, and that's something that comes up with these premium SSD, which just take a little bit longer of time, and the conversion of the a standard HDD to the premium SSD before. So this just takes a little bit of time, but that shouldn't be an issue in the general operational mode, because you can define your scaling plans and also start those things up. This was also a customer request from last week, because the question was, okay, can I also get like the disk usage on the session hosts here? Because some people, as I said, are managing their hosts in a traditional way. So they have personal hosts, and then maybe they're doing an in-place upgrade of Windows 11 to a newer version. And there was the question, okay, do I have enough disk space to even do this? And a lot of those upgrade processes failed. So we are added this information here as well to the sessions that are running and the session hosts themselves. That's why I can say it's important to give us feedback, then we can implement such nice things here. Then scaling plan, I already talked about that. So you can create multiple scaling plans and assign them then to either one or multiple host pools that you have. Automation I already had covered a little bit in the very beginning. Talking about workspaces, can also manage the workspaces here, give them like the description, enable public network access, publish the pool or the workspace to a pool, and also assign like the groups where those things should be published. And in addition to that, you can also, we have like a wizard which is guiding you through the creation of the workspace, the application group, the assignment of users, and then the publishing as well. So we're trying to make this as simple as possible for also users who are not like too much or too experienced with those environments. And in addition to that, you also have the capability of creating new applications. And as I said, you can also upload app attach packages here via the browser if you like, put them on the share that you define. And so you have like a full flow of how to manage the applications and take care of them here as well. You came up, you have a question.
No. I know that we are coming to the end. So.
Yeah, good. Last, but one thing,
Yeah,
as I
course.
said, access user, before you get into the questions, so I know the process already a little bit. We are also giving you access here to your Entra ID environment, so you can browse through whatever you have here, as well as also give you a management capability of the devices that are inside your Entra ID. So you, for example, you get like orphaned access or stale devices. So we give you the opportunity to remove things here that are stale or orphaned, but when we, for example, delete an host from an host pool, we are also taking care that we don't create like orphaned objects in Entra ID. We are deleting the computer object as well then during this process, so to make this as easy as possible. that was the last thing. Reports, I mean, okay, let's skip it.
Yeah, there's much more to see. Yeah, that's a first kickoff, and for us, it's important to share the knowledge, to share what we are doing, and that's why we are here. That's not the first and not the last session we are doing, of course. And maybe two things from my side. The most asked question for us is, yeah, now we have seen an AVD manager. We have a setup of, I would say, Sinisha, correct me if I'm wrong, 10, 15 minutes to get with the AVD management up and running and do the operations.
If the subscription is like totally clean and you spin up your quick start guide, it's like 10 to 15 minutes, depends a little bit on instance type and how fast Azure is at that day. But it's very quick, yeah.
And then how the attendees can test it. The question is there a free account? Yeah, that was the most asked question in my session. Yes, everybody can just log in at micsoap.io, go through the website and create your free account. And there you have some concurrent users for AVD management for free. You can access your subscription, you can run image management, you can do whatever you want in a limited way and figure out if this fits for you. And then we have different plans, of course, for different scenarios. And that's also the second question I get in these sessions is, what's the pricing? Come directly to us, ask, send us a message, send us a mail. Our pricing is online on the website. And we have, for example, in the workspace account of XOAP, 150 concurrent users included. So we have different options for everybody, something, and everybody will be happy with this setup. So keep in touch with us and ask whatever you want to ask regarding pricing, partnership, corporations, and so on. That's it from my side. Sinisha, from your side, something to add?
Good question. There are a lot of topics we could go through. So the best way is if I get a question, I can show it. I mean, you maybe understood a little bit how much power this AVD Manager has in combination with all the other modules we have here. So I think we have also videos regarding those other topics on YouTube and also blog entries. So if you want to learn about the platform itself and the capabilities, you can go there. And otherwise, we are happy to help. Get in touch with us, give us feedback so that we can improve everything together.
And last but not least, we have a nice helper. We have not shown it. We have an AI integration.
Totally forgot. Oh my God. So, yeah, if you don't know what you need to do because maybe it's unclear, we have here our XOAP assistant that you can ask everything. He's happy to help you with the platform and also gives you like a complete context of the platform. So whatever your question is, feel free to ask it everything.
Very nice. Sinisha, thank you very much for all the insights, for the very deep insights in this short time. Yeah, there's much more to see and what we can do. But again, whatever you want to know, drop us a message, LinkedIn, mail, website, however you like. Have a great day. Thank you for watching and see you all soon. Bye-bye.
See you soon. Bye-bye.